and also what it means to be a good woman. For instance, I feel like a lot of your podcasts are, you're showcasing the bad sides of what a woman is, but you're also not showcasing what it means to actually what a good woman actually looks like. So, and I also don't think that you give like a great representation of what it means to actually be a good man in terms of character, in terms of how you actually like show up in the world just beyond like actual work ethic. And so I think in terms of your overall goals, I think it would actually serve us best if you didn't just give us like something to run away from, but also something to actually run towards for all of the people that watch your content. And that, and I feel like that's something that maybe you could do better. Maybe again, maybe it's your platform. Obviously, maybe I'm tripping, but in my eyes, as someone who did watch your content, I don't think you complete the picture of women and men and how they actually function in society.
Okay. How did you consume it mostly when you would watch? What platform?
Mostly, it was a YouTube podcast. Mostly
YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay. So, because that's a little weird because we have like a whole show called Money Monday where we teach guys how to get the credit up money. We have Womanizer Wednesday where we teach guys how to have women properly, how to be a protective provider, etc. We're real big on gender norms. So I don't know if you've like watched everything or you've seen everything. Keep in mind that we do different types of shows because it just doesn't make sense with what you're saying. Because like we've absolutely covered a lot of those topics that you're mentioning or being critical of to help guys out with getting their money on point. Because I've been very realistic that women's standards have went up thanks to feminism, right? You got to earn more money as a guy. You got to be more competent. It's more competitive now than ever before for men since women make their own money. Yeah. So we've given a solution to that, and the solution is to simply just be you can't be an average guy anymore. So I don't know. Maybe you didn't see it. Maybe because most people watch the clips and the after hours when we're doing debates. But we do a daytime show where we talk about self improvement. So for sure, maybe you missed that.
I probably did, but I do think most of your content, at least what it looks like, is just showing the bad and not showing the good.
And keep in mind, people clip my stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And that's not me. They just clip it because it's viral.
Yeah.
And they always clip the drama. They don't clip other stuff.
Yeah. I've also like sat through your podcast and everything, but I do think instead of like targeting like women deserve less, I think you should push even more how men should do more because most of the things that are happening in society are like this is a man-run society. Us as men, as leaders, we dictate how a lot of these things actually go down. And so I feel like it's like the downfall of Adam and Eve, right? It's
So here's the problem.
Yeah.
What you're saying
Yeah.
is what we always tell men, right? So we put like no burner performance on the female side. So if I sit here and I'm like, yeah, guys, you gotta do better. I say that all the time on my show anyway.
Yeah.
But what's a bit more polarizing and gets people's attention to actually understand the problem is, hey, you guys need to stop being simps.
Yeah.
Because the problem is that a lot of guys chronically undervalue themselves while women chronically overvalue themselves.
Yeah.
You talk to any girl, what do you rate yourself 1 out of 10? She's gonna say like an 11. So a lot of women have an extremely narcissistic and solipsistic mindset thanks to social media, the progression of the internet, etc. So reframing it so guys understand, look, when you deal with women, you need to date from a defensive perspective and you have to come in and make them learn things. Because what most guys do is kind of what you're saying, like just rise up and be a gentleman and treat her really well. And it's not 1956, it's 2026. Well, and women have changed a lot. So guys need to deal with the new normal.
Yeah, I'm not saying like be a simp. I'm saying be a leader. And being a simp and being a leader as a man are completely different things. And I feel like when you put
being a leader is also making a woman as mindsets and not giving her everything up front.
Yeah.
So because that's the issue is like you don't really teach young guys how to properly vet women to not a lot of guys give everything up immediately. Like they start courting her immediately, they start treating her like a princess immediately. And I'm saying you don't do that because getting one to being a nice guy never gets ahead.
Yeah, but like in terms like on your side right there, it says women deserve less. Yes. Why not have your campaign be like men should do more?
So because we tell young men that every single day. So here's the difference. Men, every time they wake up, when they interact with the world reflects back where they stand. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you're a loser,
right,
you're fat, whatever, your experiences represent that. No one respects you, girls don't want to talk to you, people look at you weird, you don't get social interactions, you don't get opportunities. So men have to deal with the reality of their inadequacies. Women don't. You could be a badass bitch who like crap, have no future, smoke weed every day, but be on a boat with future. Like that's the difference. So I'm trying to teach guys that you need to make women comply to you, and you have to make them earn you. The problem is that we're so willing to simp for girls that, quite frankly, don't deserve it, and that's a very backwards approach, and it simply doesn't work. Being a nice guy is never good.
Gotcha. Thank you for your time, man.
No worries. What's up next? Any feminists or anybody else? What's up?
Yo.
You.
Alright, I haven't seen much of your content before, so I've kind of had to have my ground film in a little bit what you're talking about and what I've heard thus far. And it seems like you think it's very difficult a lot of times to date women, right? Like there's a whole
To do what? Start playing, but they start putting on immediately. They start treating her like that's the standing, and I'm saying don't do that because being a nice guy, how to practically that limits and how to, because other guys give everything else that needed, but you're also making a little bit of license and not giving her everything up front. Yeah. So that's the issues. Like, we can teach young guys how to practically that limits and how to, because other guys give everything else that needed. They start putting on immediately. They start treating her like that's the standing, and I'm saying, yeah, actually. Just a simple because Monday I want to guys how to get the credit up, make money. There's Wednesday we teach guys how to do it properly, how to be a protective provider, etc. Go big on gender school. I don't know if you've watched everything. Keep in mind that different types of shows because it just doesn't make sense. What you're saying, like being absolutely women, all of those things that you're mentioning to help guys out with getting that money out because I think very realistic that when it's one of the things that feminism, right? You got money's a guy who exists for better now than for feminists to make more money. So maybe the solution to that is just maybe not right. So maybe that's the end. Maybe because the rest of the lips and after this we're doing days of show. Really good. That's English. Any feminists or anybody else? What's up?
yo.
You.
Alright, I haven't seen much of your content before, so I've kind of had to have my ground film in a little bit what you're talking about and what I've heard thus far. And it seems like you think it's very difficult a lot of times to date women, right? Like there's a whole
To do what? To date?
fuck, whatever you're trying to do, right? Like you have your Womanizer Wednesday podcast. And you're saying how if I'm understanding you correctly, men need to stop putting so much effort into trying to attract women and simping after them.
Well, it's about making her earn her keep.
Right.
And I don't think enough guys put women through their paces to do that, and that's very counterproductive.
So generally, you're just trying to advocate not
I'm sorry.
putting yourself through as much effort, right? Talk closer to it.
You're kind of mumbling, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But you're trying to advocate just being more of yourself, I guess, and focusing on yourself and letting women come to you, right?
Well, even being yourself might not necessarily work, right? Because some guys, if they just be themselves, that's like very generic advice. Like, maybe you're boring, maybe you're a bit too analytical, you're autistic or whatever. I think men should obviously be as successful as they can be, and also learn, good communication skills. Learn how to be, use sarcasm intelligently, make jokes, be charismatic. Be able to command a room, be able to speak in the active voice versus the passive voice. These are all skill sets that guys need to learn to really. And it doesn't just help you with women; it helps you like in the boardroom. It helps you in your work. Makes you more likable.
And you think guys in general are better at training those things other than women who always have to.
They're better at what?
Training those aspects, right? They're better at communication.
Well, the thing is that men have to figure this out, and if they don't, they're gonna, there's gonna be consequences, reproductive consequences. So,
ultimately, if you think that guys have to be so much better at this, and they tend to put a lot more effort into relationships with other men, why would you not just do it from the women? We've seen the grinder fit. We've seen the grinder fits, bro. There's the fucking leak. You see what? Literally, I was about to go on like the conversation a second ago, and some guy literally pulled out his phone. He's like, "Oh shit, here's your fucking here's this fucking grinder profile." I'm like, are you serious? Right? You act like no, it's literally crashed the RNC. There's pics of you cuddle up with another guy, bro. Like just admit it, bro. I say it's pretty great, bro.
Oh, okay. I know what you're talking about. Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, actually, we're here at a big sports school. So I went to Northeastern. I was a Division I athlete. That photo was taken when I was on a training trip. Actually, funny enough, here in Florida, and obviously it's cold in Boston, so we had a training trip, and I was never a morning person. So what happened was before practice, they broke into my hotel room and woke me up. Right, typical shit that athletes do. And that's when that picture was taken. So they were fucking with me to wake me up for practice. That's where that picture was taken.
You didn't even try sticking it in or nothing?
No, I didn't.
Darn. You should try it.
Okay. Interesting. Who's up next?
You had him on your show recently. What are your thoughts on James Fishback?
Who's up next?
So I think a lot of the reasons people have like not being able to beat you in a debate. Like I don't want to be here to beat you. I'm here to understand kind of some of your points. So I think you have really strong reasoning, but the problem is like your conclusions. You're taking overgeneralizations and then making them an individual person's problem, when really it's a systemic issue and not something that a lot of people have control of. Like for example, women's equality. You're saying women don't want to be in positions of power when really it's a systemic issue of them historically not having the opportunity of a position of power. You know what I mean?
I would argue they have way more opportunity than ever before.
Oh, you mean right now or historically?
Yeah, than right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree. So I want to know, do you think women are mentally less superior than men or only physically?
Well, the thing is this. We think differently. Okay? And since we think differently, that is going to obviously change the way that we view the world. So, for example, women tend to be more communitarian, right? They yearn for security. Why is that? Because they're physically weaker than men. So the collective is very important to them. That's why they tend to vote Democrat. That's why they tend to be more socialist. That's why they tend to look for social programs, social welfare programs, versus men tend to be more in reality about meritocracy. And you got to go out there and get it yourself, right? So that obviously applies itself to the way that women vote or view the world or whatever. Now, there's some women out there that might look at meritocracy better. These women tend to have, stronger father in place, or maybe they're strong masculine.
Meritocracy, I don't know what that means.
Like basically like a pecking order, like 1, 2, 3. So like Tom, you did the best, you get paid $10. Dick, you did the second best, you get $8. So like men understand dominance hierarchies, right? Sure. Like when you play big on basketball, right? I get picked first, you get ball first. Cool. So men go ahead and pick. All right, I'm taking him first. Like we understand this because we compete all the time.
Yeah.
Women don't really operate that way. Like, and they show this with like kids. When little kids play, girls, they do hopscotch, jump rope, patty cake, games that don't play dolls, games that don't have a definitive winner. With boys, they play things where there's competition because it's in our nature.
Okay. I think the problem with that is you're saying women don't operate that way as a statement is overarching all women. But it's really a statement.
Okay, this is
some.
You gotta operate
Generalities.
I think generalities. In general, women don't have the same proclivity to understand and respect meritocracy to the same degree that men do, because we live in it. They participate in it when they want. We must be in it whether we like it or not. We must compete. They don't have to.
I think that's true, and I think that must comes from a historical problem, but I think it's still systematic because you're saying that it's women overall, and you're saying that's affecting their decisions as individuals when that doesn't apply to all women necessarily. That's just something that might happen sometimes, and you can
see a situation where, okay, this woman doesn't understand the pecking order of a basketball game. Maybe it's because they're too short to play basketball. Obviously, they can't play basketball. They don't have that choice. They're physically less superior, but that doesn't make them mentally less capable of understanding the situation. You know what I mean?
Not really. They make a lot of emotional arguments. You've seen the women that came on here. What do they say?
I think it was emotional because you were really good at making people angry by overgeneralizing and then making it a problem.
Perfect. Notice how even the men, when I triggered them, they were able to somewhat articulate their grievances, but with the women, they're not. You guys caught on to that? So every time one of the women walk by, hey, what's your problem? They can never actually articulate what the problem is. Right? All they heard was something that they didn't like, triggered, and they didn't like the way I made them feel, but they don't even remember what I said. But with the men, a lot of the times, they get mad or they might get triggered, but they're at least able to recite back to me what triggered them. That's a fundamental difference between men and women.
Do you think that's something that applies to all women across the earth?
Of course not. But women are more emotional than men.
You could say that generally, but I don't think you can say that as an overarching statement for all women, period.
I never said all. I never said all.
You say women, and then you never say some.
Okay.
You never say
some.
some.
IQ test again. When I say women, I mean in general. It's never going to be all. Nothing is ever going to be all. There's always going to be exceptions. Are there women out there that are brilliant that have, a 150 IQ that are, astrophysicists, whatever? Sure. But for every one of them, there's going to be 10 men that can do the same.
Do you think this has anything to do with the way that they're raised and the way that culture makes people raise people? Like in America, there's a lot different system of a family than, I don't know the culture in other countries.
I would argue to be encouraged women to attend school and become just like men and pursue a career, and yet they still aren't involved in certain things. So like, I would argue that women are encouraged to go and get a family. You know what? More encouraged to go to college and get a career than have a family nowadays. So it's actually the opposite.
You really think that's true?
Absolutely.
Because I think throughout American history, almost every form of media, even in media,
to drop out of school and have a family, most of the females would look at her as a failure.
Like, you said that one more time. I couldn't. There's people saying that.
He said, if a woman was, let's say a woman was in college,
yeah,
she dropped out to have a family, her female peers would probably look at her as a loser. Like, motherhood is no longer respected. That's why birth rates are so low. So I like this education
assumption that doesn't really apply to anything that's happened. I've never heard of that happening ever. You know what I mean?
Okay. There's more women. I wrote a book on this. Why I'm deserving less, by the way.
Really?
Make sure to go get it.
Big author.
Women prioritize traveling, having fun, partying, going to school, and getting a career nowadays far more than having a family. Like having a family and finding guys like in 7th place in a woman's hierarchy of needs nowadays, or wants.
Okay, so you're still standing by the claim that women are biologically mentally less superior, not because of a culture or in the way they're raised or a particular.
I mean, there's some biological differences that influence
their decision making. I think the biological difference are restricted to physicality, and then the mental things are problems of a systemic, cultural tradition.
No, because women dominate college attendance and they dominate higher education, yet men are still overrepresented in STEM.
I guess so, but that's just the way it's been for a long time. It's kind of hard to just have, like, where are the women supposed to just all of a sudden, like, take over and be 50-50? Like, that's not realistic, you know what I mean? But I think what's realistic is saying that they are.
See, the thing is
that they're biologically less superior.
Okay, you can look at, like, the Scandinavian countries, for example. They're even more egalitarian than we are. But what ends up happening is women still go into the same job fields.
Typically, I don't know the word egalitarian. Does that mean?
Equality, basically, like in an equal society.
Okay.
It's the concept of equality. So
in Scandinavia?
Yeah, so in Scandinavia, like those countries which are far more progressive than we are, right? They're like 10, 15 years ahead of us. Sure. Women, pretty much on the workplace, everything else like that. Women still go into job fields that women dominate more over there. So even when women are educated, they still go into job fields that tend to deal with people, social work, etc. And then men tend to go into job fields that typically want, right? Women are interested in people, men are interested in things. It's just a biological difference. And those biological differences do shape how we see the world and what we go into later on.
Okay, I think that's true. I think it's fair to say that biological differences lead to, decisions and individual decisions. Like a woman is more likely to be maternal, more likely to want to take care of kids and work in a daycare. But if a woman does want to work in STEM or, do mechanical engineering or something like that, I don't think there's anything mentally making them less superior able to do that.
There's exceptions to the rule. I just explain it. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Right? That has a 150 IQ. There's going to be 10 men that have that same level of
And
IQ.
you
Does that
think
make
that's
sense?
biological? You don't think that has anything to do with the system or like the way the culture is, traditionalized in America?
Typically tends to be on the more extreme side. So there's more genius men, right, than women. There's also more retarded men than women. So we dominate both spectrums of the side of the.
Wait. Say that one more time. There's more genius men and more retarded men.
Yeah, so we dominate both sides. So most geniuses are men.
Most geniuses are men. Okay.
Yes, but also on the negative side, most retards are also men.
So where do you think the women fall in that equation?
They're kind of in the middle or something.
Just like
Yeah, they're kind of more similar. What I'm trying to tell you is that the people who push the needle for society are the geniuses, and those are the men.
I mean, I guess, but I don't think that's biological.
It is.
I mean, you can stand on that point, but I still think you're overgeneralizing the statement and making it into something that it's not by making an individual conclusion of a generalized statement. So, I mean, I did actually enjoy that conversation. I don't.
Did you guys get it? I don't know, man. It's just like I mean, look, I don't feel like there's like a that you want to fuck or something. Like you're trying to, put the cape on. I said, I don't know if there's like a girl in the front that you're trying to have sex with, and like, hey, baby, I'm gonna fight this guy.
I'm not worried about people.
But like, the fact that you don't understand like the basic concept that like, men and women are different, and that absolutely influences the way that we view the world, which then also influences what job fields we go into and how we perceive things. Like this is just the truth, and it's been shown in many different ways. Like I said, with using Scandinavian countries, whatever. Men and women are different. Does that mean that there are women that can do what men do and can be geniuses and rocket scientists? Sure, but there's not enough of them to go around. That's my point. If we have to rely on female ingenuity only, we'd be fucked.
All right. Well, I think that's all I need to hear from the argument because I do understand your point. I don't think we can come to an agreement, obviously, but I appreciate the conversation. I think that was pretty productive. So thank you.
What's up next? Okay.
You lose a lot of money, sports betting, DraftKings or FanDuel.
All right, what's up, man? What's up? So if all the dark elves got kicked out of 109 taverns, is it the dark elves' fault or the tavern's fault?
You're anti-Prince, as we're asking now. It's anti.
Hey, it's fucked up. What's it? I said dark elf.
No, it's the fucking elf. It's the elf's fault.
All right, that was my question. Thank you.
The tavern worker have anti. What's up next?
Sir, my question is more about value. I heard you talking about value. I know a lot of your platform is just speaking on the ideas of value. So I want to know, do you speak more about societal value, like how people view men and women, or are you talking about more like overall value? Like if you were to be on your deathbed, people have to provide for you, would you see yourself as valuable anymore or not?
Okay, so when we talk about human life, obviously that's different from the type of impact and value that you create for society. So of like human value, of course, both men and women, right? You could even make the argument that women have more because we need them to propagate a society, right? Men are far more expendable than women. Women are the more vulnerable gender, and they obviously need the protection, and then they propagate society. So you can make that argument. There's a reason why, when the Titanic is saying, they're like, oh, women and children first. So that's what it is. But like when it comes to society, value to society, that's different.
Thank you so much. That was the only clarification I was going to ask for. So.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for getting that distinction.
Hey, I'm a mechanical engineering major, and I just wanted to point out a few, like a lot of people that have come up here and talked about, like feminists are talking about equality for women.
Yeah. And you said you're a mechanical engineer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We're still majoring in that.
Which is a male-dominated field. I have nothing to say about the field though. I was just, they come and say that they're equal, and obviously, like we're like more biologically superior. Like it's proven. But
so you're superior to women in almost every single way, and we don't have to fucking lie about it anymore and say, oh, we're equal. And honestly, the women wanted that way, guys. They wanted that. They want a man that they can defer to, that they respect.
So like my point is if they want to preach equality, why is men's mental health such a joke? And why are men's suicide rates so much higher than women's, and why does no one say anything about them when they should? A lot of people, so much more people care about women's mental health, and men's mental health is a real joke to everybody.
Well, because feminism wasn't, it's not really about equality. Now it's more about supremacy. So that's why. And then guys like that talk about their stuff, we get labeled bigots or whatever, you know. So that's kind of the society that we're in now, but we're trying to make a change.
It's mental health crisis, and just when you think about the importance of that nobody really cares about men in their mental health, like I don't know. I was just
Yeah, let me go ahead and explain this because I see where you're going with it. The number one thing that we guys here, your value as a man is directly tied to your ability to create value for the society, right? A lot of guys that are depressed, a lot of guys that are sad, etc. They're smoking weed, they're drinking, they're not doing anything really productive, they're not in the gym, they're not self-improving. And as a man, it's like your natural inclination to go out and actually create something. That's why men are builders. That's why we are more logically sound. This is why we tend to be better with spatial awareness and we build things. If you're not building something, what ends up happening is your mind is telling you like, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing?" And then depression is kind of like a byproduct of that. So guys need to be productive, go in the gym, self-improve, and always work towards something. And we don't talk enough about that. Where it's like, only women have the privilege of being retarded and being able to still make it through life. Men don't get that privilege. No one's coming to save any of us. So if you're not doing something, right, and you feel depressed or you're watching porn all day or whatever, that's a natural and healthy response to your inadequacy. So for mental health, a lot of times, just like stop smoking weed, don't drink alcohol, get in the gym, train, read, become smarter, become a better individual, and that's going to handle most of the issues.
right. It's just less people care a lot about men's mental health, so you just kind of have to figure it out on your own, which is kind of just unfair to their argument of equality.
Yeah, well, they don't give a shit, right? And that's why I say equality is a farce. It's not real, right? Equality is like, we're getting close. We're trying to kind of get closer, but the reality is that in practice, it sounds good on paper, but doesn't actually work in practice. So for the guys, you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and understand no one's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to save you. But luckily, you're a man. So you can actually make something happen if you work hard enough. And I'm not saying that to be cliche or whatever, but it's very important that men understand that we are not the same as women and we don't get the same preferences and opportunities as women.
Right,
and we have to be performers.
That's all I had. Thank you.
No worries.
Hey, what's up? I just wanted to know what your stance was on interracial marriage.
Interracial marriage?
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it, but I do understand that some people want to, maintain a certain look of their family, and I don't think they should be demonized for it. So if a dude wants to say, you know what, I want to stay, I want my family to look like me, and I want to have a white family, I think they should be able to do that without being labeled. There's some other bullshit, some like this term. Because I'll tell you this, people say all the time, get yourself up, movement, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, so that nationalism is completely acceptable. So I think other groups of people should be able to say, whether it's an Asian guy, Hispanic, whatever, they should be able to practice that without being labeled like some stupid pejorative term.
Thank you.
Steven Meyer.
You.
So, I've been watching your platform for a good little while, since like my freshman year of high school. And I'm aware that you're not a big fan of the young African Americans who let anger control them and, they go kill one of each other, rob, all that. My question is, what's your message to the ones who are going to college actively seeking a good, stable career and who want to actually be solid men in America today?